Good morning, Messiah, Texas. It's time for another 5-Minute Friday. Today we're going to be going over Psalm 84. There are a couple of parts of this chapter that specifically talk about joy. How much joy there are for those who bring their praises to God. What joy there is for those who find their strength in God. And I know that we all quote the verses, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience. But what does that mean? What does joy look like for us? This is something that God's been working with me a lot on joy. What does it mean to have joy? Joy in midst of every circumstance, because oftentimes we correlate joy with happiness, and we know that that's not the case. You can have God's joy that settles deep within your spirit and gives you strength in spite of all of the trials. And that's one of the things that God, again, has really been working with me on is that joy in spite of all of the trials, that joy in spite of the chaos. And truly it is, honestly, sometimes I find myself almost feeling guilty for having joy whenever there are such bad things happening. Like, if I am able to have a light heart and a light spirit amidst really bad things, that it's almost wrong somehow. But I don't think that's God's way. I think that sometimes we like feeling sad. We like feeling sad. How many of y'all have your sad playlist that whenever you're sad, I'm going to pop on my sad music playlist and get into the moment? Why? Why? I've caught myself doing the same thing. I don't have a playlist, but listening to just sad songs. But why? Why are we doing that? Why are we not, when we are sad, intentionally pushing into the joy of the Lord? I'm not saying that it's important to just fake it till you make it and be happy all the time. It doesn't matter if you face hard things, just be happy. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying we do, at the end of the day, have the choice to pursue strength that comes from God's joy and pursue God's joy that brings us strength, because there are verses that talk about both of those things, and several verses here in Psalm 84 that talk about that joy. We have the choice to find joy. We have the choice to pursue that. And when we do, it brings us a form of deliverance, I think, a deliverance from oppression of the enemy, of our flesh, of this world that we live in, when we find joy in spite of every circumstance. So many times, how many times do you guys ask a friend or a loved one, like, oh, how are you? And the immediate thing is, I'm fine, but there's this bad thing going on. Or it's, everything is good, but... How many times do we encourage them to press into a spirit of joy? I see a lot of young people, and myself included at times, just really sympathizing with people. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. You have every right to be upset about that. Which they might, But at the same time, are we saying, wow, that's so hard? Have you thought and prayed about how to find and pursue God's joy in that? Because I know God's joy brings us strength. How many times do we press into God's joy in midst of circumstance? When friends are in the hospital, friends are dying, when we have a car accident, when somebody is sick, whenever someone breaks your heart, when you go through a bad breakup, are we intentionally pursuing the joy of the Lord that fulfills our heart, fills us with His grace and His character to face all of those things? And we can do that by just having conversations with the Lord and saying, God, I'm going to pursue your joy. Whenever those things come up and it threatens to overtake our mind and our heart, we can submit those things before them and say, no, God, not for me. I'm going to choose your joy. So that's my little tidbit on Psalm 84. My takeaway was joy. And I pray that each of you are able to find joy in God as well, and it would be your strength, and that you would remember you have friends at Messiah, Texas.